name's Alexandra, and this is my healing story of how I healed from cancer. There's multiple ways to cure yourself of cancer. It's not just the traditional way, but if that's your way, that's totally fine. It was not my path. I did a holistic approach. I really changed my thoughts. I worked with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I did all of those things, and it really helped me. But again, this is just my view and my perspective and my own experience, and hopefully somewhere out there I help someone believe, hope, or maybe inspire to do something different for themselves. So start at the beginning. In 2019, 2020, I thought I was a very healthy person. I was very fit. I was working at a prestigious advertising agency in Los Angeles. I had lots of friends. I was out. I was very social. I tried to be basically perfect in every aspect of my life that I could. I exercised twice a day. I worked really hard hours, and I put in extra hours just to put in extra and be better. I loved who I worked with, but the job itself was very stressful. I started doing spiritual retreats, spiritual meditations. I started dabbling into Dr. Joe Dispenza, went for a week long with my mom, and then went for another week long and met the love of my life. And then things started to flow. So I started meditating and things just started to piece together. I started having this beautiful relationship that I've always dreamed of having. It was COVID, so I got locked into Canada because he's Canadian. And I couldn't go anywhere, but I was in this beautiful forest in British Columbia and by the ocean. It was just, everything was magical. And then I went back to LA for work, and while I was there, I was supposed to meet my wonderful boyfriend to go on a trip to Mexico around end of October 2021. And during that time, right beforehand, I noticed right after a normal checkup with my doctor, a weird lump growing on the right side of my breast, and I noticed it really quickly, so I went to check up with her. What do you think this is? She thought it was a cyst because I work out so much, and I was only 31. And I have no medical history of breast cancer in either side of the family. So I did a biopsy to be safe, and then I went to Mexico, and whilst in Mexico I got the results of the biopsy that it was triple negative breast cancer. And triple negative breast cancer is a special kind of cancer because there's no hormone receptor for it, so it's really hard for oncologists to figure out what kind of chemo to give you. So I met with my team in Los Angeles after I came back engaged from Mexico, and the oncologist basically told me that she would want to put me on 5 to 6 to 8 months of chemo first to test which cocktail worked the best for my type of tumor. And then once they figure that out, then I could surgically remove the tumor. And then after I do that, I would have radiation and then another 5 to 8 months of chemo. So that was pretty crazy. My oncologist also told me that stress doesn't cause illness. So after that, I fired my oncologist, and then I met with the radiologist, and she looked completely physically fried. Like her skin, everything was just, there was no life left. It felt like, it was horrible. So I told her no as well. But my surgeon was very angelic. And she was kind, and she was sweet, and she was sensitive, and she was patient. So I kept her on my team. And she told me if I don't do chemo, I'm looking at maybe 8 to 10 years of life left, which is very daunting when you're 31 and you just got engaged, right? So that was a very scary moment. But I also knew that if I let the fear take over, then that will become my reality. So I decided to ignore that. Number one, I had an insane passion to prove the medical system wrong and to test out Dr. Joe's work and all the holistic stuff. So there was a huge amount of energy and passion and like a heartfelt want to move forward, to live, to succeed. And I think that's super important. And then after that, my now husband, took me to Hippocrates Institute in West Palm Beach, Florida. And they're all about raw vegan diet. And we were on that regimen for 4 full weeks, so full month, which was absolutely life transforming. I loved going there. It's such a beautiful sanctuary, and they have a whole medical team, but they also they do just amazing things. And then I felt so much better, and my skin was glowing, and my eyes were lighter, and I felt better than I ever did after I detoxed. And I just loved the way of life. Like I always wanted to be raw vegan, but it was too hard and it was too difficult, and I didn't know really how to do it. And then I just was taught, and you have lectures and you learn and you can ask questions. So I got really excited about it, and it was very thrilling for me. So it really spoke to my soul, and it kind of opened me up a bit. Now, when I got the news in October, and this was November, I felt like I left my body. Like I was observing what was happening to someone else, not me. I felt very disassociated from my body. And I think I felt betrayed by it in a way, because I've been treating it so good. I never smoked. I don't drink alcohol really. I was just like sometimes a social drinker, but that was it. And I ate really healthy. Like I always picked the organic foods and the good stuff. And so I was really confused why it would betray me like this. And that's how I was viewing my body. So I had a weird relationship with my body. And I also just didn't like a lot of myself. I had a lot of issues with how I looked, and that was something that I had to face during this journey. So after Hippocrates, I got a wonderful friend of mine helped us get into Dr. Joe Dispenza Cancun retreat, which was really hard to do when it's a week long in Cancun, if any of you know. And she got us in because she knew me and she wanted me to get better, which I felt so grateful and so blessed. And we got in, we flew in right from Hippocrates, and we were there for a week long, and it was really beautiful. And the meditations were amazing, and there were so many inspiring stories all around you, and it's like a great way to mentally shift. But the pivotal moment for me that changed my whole healing, and the one moment that really stuck with me forever, and I might get emotional about it, was when this wonderful human, Monique from South Africa, with her short blonde hair, when she walked up on stage. And immediately I kind of just gravitated towards her because she was just radiating happiness, and I wanted that, right? But I was watching it from afar, there's 2,000 of us in the audience. And as we were getting closer to her speaking, she started speaking, telling her story, and she had the exact same type of breast cancer and the same breast, except hers metastasized. She did chemotherapy in the traditional route of everything, and then it came back with a vengeance. And she just decided to do something different, and she looked up Dr. Joe and she started meditating, and she cured herself. And she said the moment that things changed for her, and I'll never forget this, because this is the literal moment when I felt like everyone disappeared in the audience, and it was just me and Monique. And she was speaking to my soul, and she said, I realized it's not about changing the cancer, it's about changing myself. And that just clicked for the first time in my brain. Dr. Joe says it all the time, and people mentioned it in their videos, testimonies, and so on and so forth. But for whatever reason, this woman spoke to me, and I finally understood what the work in Dr. Joe's is about, what health is about, what it's not about healing the disease. The disease is just there to show you that something's not aligned. It's your job to figure out what that is and shift it. And so what I realized in that moment, I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry about the cancer. That's not the point. The point is me. I have to change me. So I started looking at what I've said and what I've done and how I think. It was it was a grueling process, okay? It's not easy. This is hard work. But I was in the river of change, and I really wanted to do this right. And when I got back home, and it was Christmas, post my surgery in Los Angeles, I was like, okay, I have to change. So I have to really, truly change. And how am I going to do that? Well, I have to catch my thoughts. And I'm like, okay, so what emotions are tied to my negative thoughts? So I started noticing the negative self-talk I had, and I noticed that it always happened around like menial tasks where I don't have to really think about it, like washing dishes, cleaning, doing laundry. That's when I thought the most. And that's where I realized that my self-talk was absolutely so mean. I was just saying so many horrible things to myself, and it was kind of shocking in a way to become aware of it. But it helped, and every time I would have some kind of thought that was negative, like, oh, I feel guilty because X, or oh, I'm a horrible person. Was it right what I did? Like, I had all these crazy thoughts. I would literally stop what I was doing, like stop washing the dishes, and I'd say, no, stop it. And I would say this out loud like a crazy person. And I would just say, what is the opposite of that thought? And I would just repeat it in my brain until I was so tired of hearing it. So if I felt there was a lot of guilt coming up for me, and shame in many different ways, and I realized that I was carrying so much guilt for no reason, and I wanted to let that go. I looked up Louise Hay because I knew she connects emotions to body parts, and she correlated guilt to breast cancer, to over-mothering, over-giving to others, and not giving to the self. And so then I was like, okay, the other thing I need to do is take care of me before I take care of someone else. Put on my face mask first before I help putting on one for someone else. And that really helped me. So I started changing how I behaved. I started putting myself first. Like, I would say, okay, I usually would make everyone else food or something, or make sure they're pleased and happy before I even thought about what would make me happy. And this time I would stop and say, okay, I am hungry and I'm going to be fatigued. So I'm gonna just eat now, and I'm gonna eat what I love, which happened to be the raw vegan diet, because it makes my soul happy. And then I'm gonna go and make dinner for everyone else, because it'll be easier for me to do that, and it'll be more fulfilling. And so that's what I ended up doing. And it was a total change. It was a total shift in dynamic, but my husband was super supportive. He was just amazing throughout all of this, and he understood it because he did the work too. And so he would notice changes, and he said, wow, you're just changing. You're just becoming someone else. It's so cool to watch. And he was very encouraging. So that was pretty great to have as well. My family was pretty supportive as well. I think they were cautious and a little nervous because, you know, not doing the traditional route of medicine makes a lot of people nervous, because we're taught to believe it's the only way out. But I'm just here as proof that it's not. And I think the biggest takeaways, because it's been 4 years now and I've been clear and healthy and fine and happy, just a different human. It's not the same person that got the cancer that it is now, right? So that's why I differentiate when I say my old self, because I loved her. I'm so grateful for the gift of breast cancer, because man, it taught me some tough and beautiful lessons, but it also opened me up to learning that it's okay to be me, and it's good to be open and to receive as well as give. Because if you keep giving and you don't receive, you're taking away the gift of giving from someone else. And all of that together just finally registered for me, and I finally understood, and it felt really like relief and really beautiful. And now I'm able to help and talk to other people going through similar situations, but maybe with different diagnoses, and just help them to see, hopefully, what I learned is that it's not about the disease. The disease is just telling you there's a problem, right? Whatever disease you may have or whatever ailment, that's not the problem. And it's a hard pill to swallow because you want to blame it on someone else. But it's not the problem. You're the problem. Okay, so I encourage you to look at yourself and think about what thoughts don't serve me. What am I saying? What am I doing? How am I behaving? How am I acting? How am I showing up in the world? And how can I do that differently so it's more aligned with my soul, my inner self, my innermost being? How can I take care of me properly, like I would someone else? And once you answer that question, I'm pretty confident that you'll notice a change in yourself that will transform you in some way. And you know, I did a lot of things, right? I had the raw vegan supplements, all of the health stuff. I did wheatgrass shots. I did all kinds of stuff. I did enemas, wheatgrass enemas. Yeah, that's a thing. Boy, was that scary for me at first, but it's actually super great now. What else did I do? I did all kinds of things, but I exercised regularly, but not too much. And I started to love my body. You know, there's a lot of like little aspects that you learn throughout this process. And most of it just comes down to balance. Like, how can you come back to balance? Where are you off? Where exactly are you not balanced in your life? Where is it that you need to reassess, that you need to reevaluate, to pause. I quit my job. I became a freelancer. And it super served me because the job was too stressful for my being. So I'm able to take it in doses because I love what I do, and I love the people. But it can be very stressful. So it's good for me to take it in doses. And, just find a new way of approaching you. And that just creates a new identity. And then you become someone different. And things just unfold in magical ways that you would have never expected, just like Dr. Joe teaches. And whatever resonates for you, if you're not into raw vegan food, fine, don't do it. Like, do what your soul tells you need to do. Do what makes you happy. Do what brings you joy. Cancer is all about taking joy away, right? Cancer is about people missing joy in their life. So what brings you joy? What makes you happy? Let me know what you think. And I have more stories about how I met my husband, about my surgery and how that happened, because I wasn't going to do it. And then the divine intervened. Let me tell you, that was just one mystical experience. And many other stories, and I'll try to make it more succinct in the future, but this was my first intro one, and I wanted to make sure you get all the details. Let me know if you have any questions.